Hey guys, Bart coming to you from TST Industries in Florida, bringing you another episode of TST Garage. In this episode, we'll be focusing on the signaling components for the 2018 and up Kawasaki Ninja 400. Now in the last segment, we showed you how to install our fender eliminator bracket on the bike. In this segment, we will be showing you how to remove the OEM signals off the stock fender and mount them like I have the left side done here. Now some guys prefer to remount the OEM signals. If you're not one of those guys, we do have different signaling options for this bike, and we will be rolling out with an integrated taillight like you see here. This will come later in the year. We don't have a launch date yet, so click subscribe and you'll be notified. Anyway, so for this installation, we will focus only on the OEM remount. If you want to see the installation procedures for these signals here, we will make a separate video for that. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's first break down the OEM fender, remove the signal lamp off of it. I'm going to start from the bottom, unroute the wire, and then on this component here, there's a small Phillips head screw that needs to be loosened. Once it's loosened, I think we can just pry it up. This component is dislodged. You can slide it off. This will not be reused. I'm going to grab the signal stalk, twist and pull, and it just comes out. So now we will need to remove this boot, and there's another Phillips head screw in there. So that will need to come out. And this component will be reused. And just pull this off, slide the boot back up, and that will reveal this component here. Now the plug will not slide through that hole, so we will need to remove the plug off the wires. To do that, you can use a tiny flathead screwdriver or safety pin. I typically use these pins that I get from an office store. There is a ratcheting pry tab inside here when looking at the pin side of the plug. You pry it up away from the metal pin, and that will unlock the pin to come out, just like that. It's fairly simple, but it needs to happen. So now we'll be able to slip this off. In addition, there are these tabs here from the manufacturer closing the end of the tube, so we will need to shave those off. And now we can get this component off. This will not be reused. This rubber boot comes off and it's not reused. All right, so now we'll grab one of the brackets from our remount kit that is available on our website, tstindustries.com. We'll need to figure out the orientation that this light will be in. So the way the bike sits, we'll go in this orientation, and then our L bracket will have the longer leg with the slot up against here. So we'll put that on. And now we notice that this boss right here is a little bit too long. So we'll need to shave that off. On the paint marker here, I will mark it for myself to know the depth to which I need to shave it. And this can be done using a bench grinder, a file. It'll just take some time with a file. But the simplest tool that you can do this with is a box knife. Just be patient. Take off a little bit at a time. All right, so now we can check if we got it low enough. And the idea here is to make sure that it's just beneath the surface of our L bracket. And it looks like I need to go a little bit deeper. We definitely don't want it flush with this surface, because then it will no longer locate our bracket. And this is important so that the signal stalk doesn't move around too much. So let's modify it a little bit more. Now this checks out and is good to be fastened. I'll grab one of the large washers that came with the kit, place it over my boss, reuse that screw that came out of the signal. I'm tightening it just enough to make it bottom out against the signal stalk, but I still want to have some adjustability. I'll finalize that on the bike. All right, so now we can hop on over to the bike and perform the installation of these parts with the rest of the parts that we already have on there. Okay, so here is the fun part. This is where it starts coming together. If you're using this type of hardware on your license plate, it will not work. We need something with a little bit more holding power. So I'm gonna ditch that and use the screws, washers, and nuts that came in our kit. So obviously our signal set up in this configuration goes behind here and mounts via the screws provided. For now I'm just going to mock it up so I could get my signal lamp angle correct and tighten it down, because we won't have that opportunity after this set of hardware is tightened down. I'm going to make sure that the lens is perpendicular to the ground. And that looks pretty good here. Just need to make sure I don't shift this bracket as I tighten it down. Now we tighten it down until we feel a good amount of resistance, and this bracket's fixed in place. And get that on there. Now I'm going to use a 10mm box wrench, a 4mm Allen, to tighten this stuff down. As I get closer, I need to make sure that the signal's on the side, because otherwise it'll bind behind there. Now I need to make sure that the signal stalk axis is parallel to the ground and coaxial with the other signal's axis. Get that tightened down. Leave just a little bit of adjustability just in case you need to nudge it. Mine came out perfect. And now we're going to tighten it down all the way. Okay, so now we have this wire hanging out here. We are going to route it to the inside of the trunk through the provided channel in the undertail. If you are using one of our undertail closeouts with your fender eliminator kit, then this wire would first have to go through the wiring hole and then up into the tail. On this setup, we don't have that component, but I did want to show you guys how it's done. Now the wires are up top. So we'll grab the plug that we slipped off from the OEM setup, find its corresponding plug on the bike, and we'll need to check the wire configuration on that plug to make sure we get the correct wire in the correct slot here. Up here, we are going to find the corresponding female plug. I already did the gray side, which is left, I believe. Yep. So now we're going to be working with this one. If we pull the boot back, you can see that there's a black and yellow wire that corresponds to this here. So we are going to key off that. I'm going to reinsert the plug by itself, and realizing that black yellow is on this side, we're going to insert that first, and it should make a small click noise. We're going to insert the other side. If you have it turned around, it's giving you resistance, just flip it 180. All right, I got it here. This is all good to go. I can now test the signals, make sure they're running. All right, so right's working properly, left is working properly. Now we can power down and just neaten up the wires that are going into the trunk here and neaten them up in the trunk compartment. So there's an excess amount of wire here. I think the boot within the trunk can hold most of the wires in place, but if you want to go the extra step, it's highly recommended. You could grab some wire ties and tie off your external sections of wire to the license plate bracket. That's what I'm going to do here. This will just ensure that it's nice and neat out here and it looks proper and you don't have wires dangling around. I'm just going to slice off the remainder of that zip tie, replace my rear seat, and at this point we are good to go. The installation's finished. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed working on the bike. These signals are not my cup of tea, but for those of you guys that want to save the money and perhaps put it towards an integrated taillight, or you just simply like these better, this is the procedure for you. Hope you'll check out other videos and our whole product catalog for this bike at tstindustries.com. See you guys there.